There is an issue I want to talk about. Okay? Now I do have to clarify. Today I'm speaking as a slime, but if you are not watching over on Twitch, you will probably get all kinds of randomness from this channel because you will have no context as to why one day I'm in a bikini and one day I am a slime and one day I'm in a French maid outfit. There will be no consistency. That said, there's a problem in Pokemon Unite, and I really, really need to talk about it. And no, it's not the predatory economy. No, it's not... honestly, any number of issues you could probably name. It's not any of that. It's not anything I've talked about before. The problem with Pokemon Unite right now that I want to bring up, and this is something as a gamer who appreciates competition. Granted, I've only ever gotten to Gold in League, and currently on Pokemon Unite, I am veteran. But as somebody who appreciates competition, there's a problem. And it's bots, actually. It's bots. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, in Pokemon Unite, there is an ability for players to be taken over by bots in their entirety. Now, there's a good implementation of this that I appreciate, and a bad one that also is just confusing me. The good implementation of this is if you go AFK in a game of Pokemon Unite and you are AFK for more than a minute, then the game will automatically make a bot take over for you, and it will alert your team that you have gone AFK, and then people will get a question. Do you want the player's bot to follow you specifically? If you are okay playing Protect the Bot while having the extra damage and or sponginess from that particular player in their mummified state. This is good. I like this implementation of the bot. I really, really appreciate this specifically because unlike a game like League, players are not worth a certain amount of gold, so there's not a feeding mechanism the same way there is where League is concerned. At least not as impactfully. And yes, Wasper, this is going to be the last one for the night. There's a bad implementation of this, though. There's a bad implementation of this. And it is in ranked and normal matches. Sometimes your team or the enemy team will be filled with any number of random-ass bots. Now, there is no way to determine if these are bots or players, because they can actually have, and they do use, player names that have been grabbed from the grab bag of names that people have selected overall. Now, what is the purpose of adding bots into a game like Pokemon Unite? It's a MOBA. The idea generally is to make sure that people can get into matchmaking faster. Here's the problem. You know how many people play Pokemon Unite? There are plenty. Now, the problem that bots are supposed to solve is they make matchmaking easier for people who are wanting to get into matches faster. But here's the thing. If I am a ranked player, and I get bots on my team, then this completely ruins my game, and it makes my experience absolutely awful. And if I get bots on the enemy team, then I will believe that I am overperforming and I am doing amazingly well, and it will incentivize me to, as opposed to improve as a player, make me feel like I have the potential to be the greatest player in the world, and all of my losses are now flukes. We're going to go ahead and read an article real quick on this. Does Pokemon Unite have bots? This is as of August 11th. And get into some of the things that it says here. This Pokemon Unite is the latest offering in the Pokemon franchise. But while there are no ways to select bots in Pokemon Unite, the game does indeed include them. They can appear within any mode, even ranked. They're used to fill up lobbies that lack players. And because it can happen even in ranked mode, my criticisms are still there. This happens if there's a lack of similarly ranked players. The players have been reporting since the launch of the game that Unite has even used their own account names as the identity for bots within matches that they personally haven't played against. So you might have throat stomped a random ass player named Cirrus, but I wasn't in that game. And if I was, I would vehemently deny it, because you definitely didn't beat me, Tom. Team E Studios, and other studios that are involved in the production of Pokemon Unite, have not confirmed on their own chance that there are bots in Pokemon Unite, but there's a high frequency of players who are reporting the issue regardless. Now, it says in here in the article that with bots active in ranked games, players have widely criticized the system. Bots seem to be more prevalent in higher ranks, where there are fewer players present, which has been seen as counterintuitive to the ranked system. And I agree. If I am accelerating in rank, if I am putting in the time and effort to become a better player in this game, and I end up facing bots in a ranked match where I am ideally supposed to be fighting against people who are my own skill level or higher. Ideally, you always want to fight people who are higher skill level than you, because they are the players who are going to teach you, violently, how to improve. So, why is this a thing? Think about how many people play Pokemon Unite. Without hard download numbers from Nintendo, we don't necessarily know. But we do know that there are 2.5 million players who are registered to play on mobile. A large fraction of that likely makes up the Nintendo Switch player base of Unite. Or maybe it's even more. I don't know. We don't have those hard numbers, at least as far as I was able to find out. Let's consider for a minute how much this actually affects you as a player if bots were not in your game. If there are 1,000 players in your game active today, and half of them are in the lowest ranks, the likelihood of them with 500 active players in those ranks getting a match is very, very high, very, very quickly. As soon as you get into the higher ranks, yes, there are fewer people, but with 10 players required to get in a match, if it takes a while to get into your match at high rank, I can already tell you that most people who play other MOBAs are used to those longer waiting periods to get in their match. Now, I know as this is a game that is trying to be tuned for mobile devices, there might be some paranoia. Some paranoia regarding having these games not necessarily be played by people instantaneously. Because the idea of a game like Pokemon Unite, whether it's on the Switch or whether it's on mobile, is that it's a MOBA, but it's a drop-in, drop-out MOBA. Multiplayer online battle arena meant to be done at a very quick pace. My hope going forward is that this botting system is temporary. That when we get mobile players into this game, because it has been confirmed that the servers will be cross-compatible between mobile players and Nintendo Switch players, that when we have all these extra players flooding the game, that the bots will not be utilized at all. But the fact that bots have shown up in normal games without a ranked system, they've shown up in various forms of ranked play, not just at the higher echelons, it feels like they're being implemented almost randomly. So if you're waiting for a match for more than 20 seconds, bots will be used to populate it because, oh no, those kids need to get into their game right now, despite how detrimental bots actually are to the long-term experience of the game. You get more toxic players when they believe that their teammates are incompetent, and bots operate at no level except incompetent, especially in MOBAs. And players operate with an equal level of toxicity when they think they are throat stomping someone on the enemy team. Without any contest. The type of player you create when you keep bots in your game is a caustic one that should not be on a team with other players. And yet, Pokemon Unite, using these bots, will create that environment. Because that is the environment that every MOBA has when you just replace the word bot with incompetent player. This is a problem that really does need to be fixed. Not only does having these bots of the game make your players more caustic, not only does it ruin games for players who are trying to get better at the game as they're not fighting the best players and they're not fighting alongside the best players. On top of all that, it creates this expectation. And this is something that I experienced while playing Paladins. Hi-Rez Studios, when creating Paladins, sets things up to where in your first 5 games, you fight bots. They do not tell you you are fighting bots. You are not instructed that that's a thing you're going to do. The players on your team are real people. The players on the opposing team will be bots until level 5. If you are playing Paladins with a friend who is new and you are not new, then it doesn't matter. They will still be fighting bots, and you will be fighting bots alongside them. The experience I had with Paladins, despite me loving that game, initially was, oh my god, this game is so fun, this is amazing, and then experiencing a soul-crushing whiplash after level 5 when I encountered my first real players who knew how to function. Now, if I knew I was fighting bots the entire time, then I would have viewed them as adequate practice, as opposed to building an overconfidence in myself. And this is an experience shared amongst multiple players who have played Paladins. The idea behind them is to ease players in and let them feel good so they get hooked early. I understand why, from a design perspective, you might engage in a system like that. But where I think a system like that becomes a little more inexcusable is in a game like Pokemon Unite, where the similar throat-stompy expectations are fully randomized. If I am on the cusp of getting into veteran rank or getting past that, and I get a bot in my game, what is that going to do? Well, it's going to frustrate me. And if I am the type of player invested in becoming better at this game, and I am put up against bots, in an unideal world, more and more going forward, then I'm not going to be improving. I'm not going to be getting to be a better player, and nobody else is either, because they're going to be playing against these bots. And if the bots are implemented in the way that I believe that they are, which is if a waiting for game timer has gone on long enough, then the lobby will fill itself up with a handful of bots to go ahead and just get things out of the way smoothly. In the event that there were players getting out of a previous game who would have been available to populate your game within a handful of seconds, but now those players will not be populating your game because bots have taken those slots, then those players who just got out of their game will potentially get more bots, because there's no guarantee that all 10 players are going to be going into the next game. Several players in that last section will likely have been experiencing their last game of the night, and so you'll have an odd number of players going forward again. And this creates a cascading effect, where there's 15, 16, 17, maybe even add a couple zeros at the end of that games going on in ranked play at similar ranks, where players are entering with teams of odd-numbered players, and there are bots being used on either side to populate those sides, when, with just a little bit of patience from the developer's side, a little bit of confidence that their players would be willing to wait to play a good game. Instead of bots populating their games, they could have real players populating their games. Yeah, you'd have fewer active games going, but the games that are going would all be high-level games where everyone is learning and actually performing well. At least as well as you can, all things considered. I don't agree with this decision to have bots in the game at all. And I especially don't agree with the decision if they are operating in the way that, again, I think that they are. I hope that they're a temporary thing that gets removed when the mobile market kicks in. But I also don't think that's going to be the case, because with the mobile players coming in, this idea that we can't wait too long for people to get their match is likely going to be pushed to its extreme within the company, despite there being no need for it with at least 2.5 million registered users over on mobile. There are enough people to populate these games, I guarantee you. We don't need bots shoved in these matches in a desperate attempt to make sure the matches are actually being played. I'd rather have 1 or 2 fewer games in my night if it meant that every game was with players that I could either practice against or fight alongside. I can't make friends with a bot. And if I encounter a bot in a game, and I try to add them as a friend for whatever fucking reason, and then I encounter that person later on because these bots use the same names, I might not try to add them as a friend later on, because I've already experienced them in a game with me, and they already didn't want my friend request to begin with. Little did I know, I was fighting one of their doppelgangers at one point. This is a MOBA, not the ghost mode of Mario Kart. And I'm not trying to be all try-hard preachy the entire time, but a rising tide floats all boats. If everybody is fighting against low-level bots, then nobody is learning, nobody is getting better. And while not everybody is fighting against these bots, in an ideal world, nobody would be fighting against these bots. If you desperately want bots in your game, then add a bots mode. We don't have a bots mode in this game. We're only able to fight against other players, theoretically. What do you think should be done? Do you agree with the idea of having bots in these games for the sake of having more games active with more people, despite the lower quality of those games that these bots introduce? And hopefully I wasn't too rambly in this particular episode. I know that I didn't have as much structure, and this was mainly me bitching. But I would love the critique anyway, going forward. With all that said, though, everyone, thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to support the channel and what I do, there are ways to do so in the description. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. And as always, insert in the video tagline here.